I just remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, I'm dumb. I'm a failure. Welcome back to Teacher Tales, where we give you the keys to overcoming teacher burnout to find work-life balance and educational bliss, if it still exists. On this interview episode of Teacher Tales, clarity, conflict, and collaboration take center stage. Uncover the art of expressing thoughts with clarity, fostering an environment where everyone feels heard and understood. Next, learn the secrets of resolving conflicts constructively for stronger, more meaningful relationships. And lastly, explore the transformative impact of open communication and collaboration, where transparency becomes the conduit for productive partnerships. Take it away, Miss Sane. Please just tell everybody, how did you get into teaching? Like, where was the origins? How did you go, I think I'm going to be a teacher?
Honestly, I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but in my previous careers, it never really fit. And it always kind of felt like something wasn't missing and I was never truly happy. And I don't want to jinx where I'm at now, but I just remember constantly like praying, God, get me out of this situation, get me out of this situation, get me out of this situation, get me out of this career.
This sucks.
Yeah, I'm not having fun. So I would love to say like, oh, God brought me here, but also I think I've just always had a knack for teaching and just for encouraging youth to be the best version of themselves, and I enjoy that. So it's so funny. I talk to my mom all the time, and she said, I always knew you were going to be a teacher. And I'm like, well, okay, why didn't you tell me that, like,
right,
while I was struggling? And she said, well, I just remember seeing you at the science fair in high school, and there was these middle school kids, and you were showing them how oil and water doesn't mix, and you were being so creative, and they were really interested, and I just really felt like you just had it, like you had the gift of teaching. And I was like, okay, you waited. Could you have told me that?
Could have told me that at 16.
But still, you know, timing's perfect. I am right where I need to be at the right time. So I'm kind of glad that I fell into teaching now, because if I would have fell into it earlier, I would not be the teacher I am today. So all those careers that weren't the best, that weren't great experiences, taught me so many life skills that I need right now to deal with these kids that I do love. You know, I love these kids, but also
I would say the same exact thing. Like, I got into teaching, I think like maybe around the same age, because I was like 28 when I started subbing and doing my certification, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I had all of these different jobs, just retail and, you know, food and beverage and all of these different jobs that now those lessons I bring into the classroom with me, all those experiences. So give us the winding road. Like, you go to college, you know, you say you got a bunch of different jobs that you ran through. Like, okay, give us the rundown.
Okay, cool. So way back when, I graduated from Brazoswood High School, which is like a hop, skip, and a jump from here. It's in Lake Jackson, Texas. I graduated in 2012. And this is not something that I tell a lot of people, but I think it's really interesting and really special. When I took my SAT, I was not a good test taker. So I did horrible on the math portion. So I was accepted into Sam Houston, but under
strict, like, hey, you
guidelines.
Don't screw it up.
Yeah. So I had to take remedial math my first semester, and I passed it. It was fine. But I just remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm dumb. Like, I'm a failure. Like, I was really hard on myself. And then as I grew and as I met so many different people, I kind of just really realized that that's kind of just a part of life. I had a really good time. I did a lot of growing, had a lot of experiences. And that was really kind of, I mean, prior to that, I knew I always wanted to be in some sort of like animal science, agricultural pathway, just how I grew up. You know, I was hunting, fishing with my dad, and I randomly decided I wanted to show a heifer in high school. So I knew I wanted to do something with large animals. And of course, my whole idea of what I wanted to do changed throughout my college career, but it always centered around agriculture. So a lot of the professors I met were very impactful on like where I'm at now. So I want to definitely say that me being a teacher also has to do with the impact that people have made in my life.
Shout out to Dr. Anderson.
Yeah.
You did your thing in the classroom.
Yeah. Going back in time in 2016, when I decided I wanted to get my master's degree, there was a project that I was going to write my thesis over, and it had to do with horses. Pretty much throughout my college career, I took every single equine science class that Sam Houston offered.
Wow.
Every single class. And I loved it. So my equine professor, Dr. Leatherwood, who is just...
Leatherwood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Like, so incredibly smart. When I think of a woman who's like a boss, not like bossy, but like...
A boss.
Yeah, that's who I think of, like, sometimes. Wow. Like, she was just really, really great at teaching and really had it down. Like, especially when it came to research, she just could explain it in a way where you understood. She kind of reached out to me and she was like, hey, so I know that you have this interest in continuing your research and continuing, your education and getting your master's. Well, I would like to offer this project to you. Mind you, like about a month or so prior to this, unfortunately, Dr. Coverdale, which was a professor at Texas A&M University within Animal Science, Equine Science Department, she was kind of known for being the guru for equine nutrition. She unfortunately passed in a really horrific car accident. So Dr. Leatherwood was actually one of her students. So, wow. So Dr. Leatherwood came to me and was like, hey, I want to continue like Dr. Coverdale's research. Do you want to be a part of this? And I said, yes, absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. So, but that's, yeah. Every time I think like, should I do this? Yes, you should. You should go through with it. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you should, because you're going to regret it. Yeah.
At least you tried. You went for it. If absolutely. It works, great. If it didn't work, then at least you know.
Yeah. So I get into this, and then a month after starting this project, Dr. Leatherwood says, by the way, I'm leaving Sam Houston, and I'm going to take over Dr. Coverdale's position somewhat at Texas A&M. So I'm leaving. And I was like, So what am I? You want me to do all of this? Yeah. So I was just kind of like in the dark, and I had no idea what to do. And I cried a lot. It was just very, very difficult because I quite literally had no idea what I was doing. And I just remember Dr. Anderson saying, I was crying in his office once, and he said, just thought I'd let you know.
I'm leaving too.
No. He's like, all adults, like, nobody knows what they're doing. We're just figuring it out as we go. Like,
it takes time.
Yeah. And I just remember him telling me that and just saying, like, as an adult, nobody knows what they're doing. We're just figuring it out as we go. Literally. And I kind of just ran with that, honestly.
How old were you at that point?
I was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
I was a little baby. Yeah. So I was still figuring out who I was, and then having to carry this.
A lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility. And there's so many aspects to it that I could talk hours and hours and hours about it. But so anyways, I ended up finishing that, and I graduated my master's in 2018. And gosh, it took me like a couple months, like 6-7 months just to find a job.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I had just applied for a lot of things, and also I think I was just really burnt out, super, super burnt out. And I needed some time to just get back to myself.
Right.
It honestly, like, it was just so mentally exhausting. But definitely a huge learning lesson for me.
So you become a sub.
I become a sub.
Okay, first impressions.
Yeah. So, well, it was for 7th grade.
No way.
Yeah.
Middle school's off limits for me. I would never do middle school.
1,000,000%. Never, ever. You could not pay me enough to be a middle school teacher. That's not to say that middle school teachers are, middle school teachers, they are the heroes of the earth,
I'm just.
They are the Avengers.
I think that every teacher has their people.
Yeah.
Like some people will go, I would never do high school.
Yeah.
And some people will go, I would never do middle. And same thing with elementary. So
that's so true.
everybody has their spot where they belong, where they feel like they can do their best work.
Yeah.
So for me, that is not middle school. That is high school, and I knew it right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the first day I started subbing, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good here. I was right about this one.
Yeah. They were just figuring life out. They're little babies, and they're at the point where in 7th grade, 8th grade, you're at the point where you can kind of test the limits.
Yeah.
And you can figure out what you can and can't get away with. And what you can get away with, you sail with that.
Yeah, you just keep getting away with it every day.
Yep.
Until somebody puts you in a headlock.
And then you get to high school and you're like, whoa, this is a whole different ballgame.
You thought you knew the limits?
Yep.
You did not know the limits.
Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe, I guess, just the limits change.
Yeah.
They change. So, I think 9th grade is probably the most difficult grade.
Oh my gosh,
think.
Yeah.
Just because now you're going from being in the school with 12-year-olds to now being in the school with like 18 and 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
So, and then now you're no longer in the same class all the time, which I guess in middle school that does end anyway. But now you're in classes that are much harder than what you're used to. So there is a huge switch. And I feel like that's why 9th graders a lot of them have such a difficult time with the maturity part.
Yeah.
Some of them are really smart, but they just get on your nerves. You're like, what are you doing? Like that's middle school behavior. That's exactly what's happening. So as a teacher, you got to kind of check yourself. All right, this is a 9th grader.
Yeah.
I should know what to expect by now. Shame on me if I get upset. So as you are kind of coming to the end of your first semester, if you had to grade your time management on a scale of 1 to 10, you can do like a grade for the beginning of the semester and then a grade for where we are now.
Honestly, at the beginning of the semester, I was just trying to like figure it out. It was just,
So like a 1.
I don't know if I wouldn't say 1, probably like a 3, like a 2 or 3. Like I was just, not that I wasn't good at managing my time, but it was just so much coming at you at once, and you're like, what is the most important here? And
sometimes you just don't know.
Like, yeah.
All of this seems important. You don't know any better.
Yeah, and now I'm like, okay, that can go here, this can go here. Yes. And honestly, what I've learned with time management, and, you know, it's so funny because if you were to get on Instagram and you were to look up work-life balance or time management, you would see these beautiful templates of what work-life management looks like for someone, or what, like you'll see a video of someone going through work, like balance in their life.
This is how I do it.
And for me, it's I give when I can, and I don't give when I cannot.
There you
go.
And
that's it. And that's just a part of knowing yourself and having those life experiences and knowing when you can give and when you can't.
Right.
And so when I can give, I give. And like Monday and Tuesday this week, I was here till 6:30.
Yes.
But I needed to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Yes, it's something that all first-year teachers, I would say even at least the first 2 years, that you have to figure out. Because the first year you're just trying to make it.
Yeah.
You know, you're just trying to not lose your mind, either on kids, sometimes on adults, or that could be administrators, principals, like all of these different people that you have to interact with. It's a lot, especially if you haven't come from a job where you have to talk to a lot of different people every day. You know, so, you know, we have classes, you know, sometimes up to, 35 kids. And a lot of times you'll have, I don't know, say 150 to 170 people. And then maybe they also including the adults that you have to interact with, not including any parents that you have to interact with. We're talking about, 175 to 200 people every single day that you have to interact with. And so that is a ton of people. And sometimes you just don't have the energy to give, especially when kids start to get on your nerves. So I think that kind of moves people into that burnout that teachers talk about so much. So how have you had to adjust, to having to deal with so many people every day, even if it's not a negative experience, just having to give that much energy to all of these different people? How have you found any kind of adjustment to that coming from where you came from? They're not cults, but sometimes they act like that.
Yeah. I guess this is where, like, when I mentioned, like, the life experience that I've had have made me the teacher I am. My last job prior to this, working at rice farm. Yeah, rice farm. I had a very difficult boss, and I had a very difficult time there. But I learned how to manage people in a good way, and I learned how to manage, like, myself. And so it sounds so simple, but sometimes do your best, leave the rest. That's what I say.
There we go.
So when it comes to, when you're around all these people and you're talking to these students who are all individually different, they all need this, and it's Miss Sane, I need this, Miss Sane, Miss Sane, Miss Sane. Finally, I just look at them and I say, one thing at a time. Let's go back to what we're doing. One thing at a time. Everybody sit down. And honestly, I have found that it just works so well if I'm just honest with them. Earlier this week I said, listen, I don't have it.
Hey, chumps.
I said, you want to see Miss Sane turn into a gremlin? Okay, we can do that today. But I don't have the patience for it today.
Yeah.
And they were like, Miss Sane, you okay?
Like I told y'all, stop
Yeah.
bothering me.
Yeah.
The answers are on Schoology.
You just have to, I feel like you just have to be really honest with them. And
yes.
And I think for someone who isn't a teacher, maybe you see it as like, oh no, I need to like have this facade, but they will eat you alive if you pretend to be someone you're not. You have got to be your authentic self.
What is the advice that I gave you when you first got here?
You were like, you got to be yourself.
You have to be yourself. If you try to do any of that TikTok stuff and it's not you, it's just not going to work. There's so much extra energy trying to be something that you're not, trying to be someone else, trying to use these different strategies and techniques that don't work with who you are. So, yes, that is the advice I gave to you.
Yeah.
That's the advice that I give to every new teacher. You have to be yourself. And like that is going to guide how you deal with children. It's going to guide how you deal with other adults, parents. And so everybody does that a little bit differently. And of course, there's a certain level of professionalism that we all need to have. But a lot of times, like in class, it's not professional. Like, it's not, the setting doesn't call for that. Sometimes you go, okay, you guys are being bums. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
So, in calling them out, some people, like you said, some parents are like, oh, no, don't talk to, children that way. And, I'm not cursing at kids, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you call them out and you hold them accountable and then you do praise them when they earn it, I think that they are receptive to that. Once you begin to, like, adjust, like, I don't have to be like this super, super nice, fake, person that's from like the movies.
Yeah.
Then you go, oh, okay, like I can keep it real with these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just little adults trying to figure it out too.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if you're going to be a teacher, you just have to have so much grace. Like, they need grace. And I know it's really hard because sometimes you feel like you're being walked over by them, but you just have to remember that they are in a completely and totally different life than we were in high school. It's so different.
Not the same.
It's not the same. And they have I've noticed they have so much pressure on their shoulders to kind of fit in this box of what society really the TikTok life, to fit in.
Right.
And it makes me sad because I would love more than anything for my students to just stand out. Just be yourself.
Just be yourself.
Yeah.
They don't even know what that means right now. Like they hear it, but for them, they're like becoming a new teacher.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know what that means until you have to like do it and figure it out. And you can only look back and say, oh, okay, like that's what that was.
Yeah.
So we've seen a bunch of kids crying within the past couple of days. So how do you deal with like the emotional stress that comes with being a teacher?
My drive back and forth is like 45 minutes. And my drive home is an essential part of me being able to be home when I get home.
Yeah.
I have time to also feel them. And sometimes I feel them really deeply.
Yes.
So it impacts me and it kind of weighs me down. And sometimes just a good old fashioned ugly cry. Just drive.
Like the one we saw yesterday.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Eesh. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm going in my room. The Saints got it.
Yep. I've been there. I've experienced heartbreak. And I just wish they could see, like, man, this is so minor. That big a deal. This is not, but they can't.
You can't even say that to them.
You can't because
you can't
they just
minimize.
Yeah, I don't want to minimize what they're going through. But if they could just look in the future and just see, like, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm golden, I'm gonna be okay. And I think really that's all you can do is just remind them, like, hey, it's okay. And like you mentioned, like, I just want to are you safe? Are you okay? Do you feel like you're in danger? Like,
anything illegal happening?
Yep. Yeah. I just want to make sure that they're safe and they're okay. And sometimes life's a lot. And yeah. But honestly, when you see kids that are experiencing some sort of emotional distress, like as a teacher, when your kids are not being themselves. Like, you can tell. You pick it up.
Yep.
And there's so many times where I've said, like, hey, so-and-so, let's go out in the hall and talk. And they walk out and they just immediately just start crying. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, all right, take a deep breath. And like, I'm like, okay, do you want to talk about it? Most of the time they don't. I'm like, okay, do you want to chill here for a second? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well then come back in. And just that helps them feel just a little bit more confident in themselves. It helps them realize that this is a safe place. You can truly be yourself. You can experience the emotions that you're going to experience, and there's no judgment here.
Right.
So
you got to create that space in your classroom.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now we're going to get into the last part, which is the 5 W's and the H.
Okay.
Do you know them all?
Who, what, when, where, why?
What's the H?
How?
There we go.
Okay.
So I have those questions, and so you can pick which one you want first.
Surprise me.
We're going to go with where. Where do you see yourself 5 years ago? And are you there, or did it change along the way? We kind of talked about a ton of that stuff.
Yeah, we did. 5 years ago, I would have liked to see myself working on getting my doctorate and becoming a professor. But I think I'm one step, I don't want to say I'm one step below that, but I think eventually, like, I'm on my way there.
Right.
It's still something that I want, but I'm also really enjoying, like, my time here.
Taking your time.
Yeah.
Good. I like it. You want to pick the next one?
No.
Okay. The question is, when did you begin to feel confident in yourself as a teacher? I'll say, have you started to feel confident as a teacher, and why or why not?
Yes.
Okay.
I am so passionate about this, and I love this so much that I feel like it kind of just flows out of me.
Got it. Yes, I agree. You are.
I don't know if that, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn over here. Like, it's not, I love this. And it goes to show that whenever you're not in something or doing something that is serving you or that's growing you, it's not you're not really able to truly 100% be your best self.
Agreed.
And really show your true character. So at first, it was a little rocky. It was honestly, it was kind of scary at first. I was scared these kids were going to eat me alive. But then I got to know them and they started to trust me. And I realized trust is such an important part of it. And I think once they started to trust me, I really started to feel more confident in myself. And I could really be myself. And me being myself encouraged them to be themselves more. So it's just kind of flows. Some days I feel really confident. Some days I'm like, it's not flowing today, but that's okay.
That's okay. There's always tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay, what's your restroom policy? And do you have a crazy past?
My restroom policy is one person at a time. Of course, 10-10. You got to follow the 10-10. And they,
rule.
oh my gosh, they hate that. Why can't I go? Because.
Sit down.
Yeah, sit down. My restroom pass is an ear tag, for a cattle. That says like Miss Sane's restroom pass on it, and it's So and it was originally it was a water burger, like that you put.
Oh, like the little tent.
Yeah.
Somebody stole it.
Someone broke it in half.
Those bombs. Okay. Who's the student that has made an impression on you? Okay, you don't have to say their name, but what's something that they've done that you feel like, man, this kid is the best?
I want to politely say this. This is not the best kid. He's not the best kid, but he has the potential of being a great student. And he's a freshman, and he is figuring high school life out.
Right.
And I think I'm helping him. So we've had some issues with him, like moving around, getting up, and we came up with a
plan.
And literally all I got to do is just look at him, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go back to my seat. So, but he's always really kind. He's always really excited to, come to class. It seems like he's always like, Miss Sane, like, what's going on? Like, hi, Miss Sane. And I can see him hopefully developing into the young man that I know that he can be. I think he just really needs some guidance. So that's someone who I'm really excited to see, like, flourish. Yeah. There's just so many students who are just great. There's too many to list. Like, I love all my kids.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Even if they kind of get on my nerves sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much fun in the classroom. Like, for me and for you, like, it's almost some days it's like we're just hanging out. With just a bunch of, I don't know, friends, maybe a little strong, but just a bunch of cool people.
Yeah, definitely.
You just kind of start to build those relationships, so now there's certain things that you ask about. Like, I talk NBA with this one kid every day. Like, the first, I won't say how long. Some days longer than other days.
Yeah.
But I'm like checking in with the games from last night, and or who's his favorite, or what's going on. But those kinds of relationships help you to be able to then do all of the teaching stuff. Yeah. Because you go, man, you don't want to be like LeBron. LeBron turned his work in, I'm sure. Like, so you can't.
Yeah.
So those other things help with the teaching part too.
Yeah.
Why is the profession so difficult?
I think what makes it so difficult is, and I'm not trying to be ugly, but the lack of really good, adequate support for teachers. Like, and I'm not saying that we don't have good support here, but it just kind of seems like the way teaching is now, that it's more not against us, but it's not really helping for us either. Like, and I know there's a lot of people that would be like, gosh, teaching is so hard. Like, I commend you for being a teacher and teaching the youth and all that. But just having support and knowing that you're supported, I think that's just kind of difficult.
Yeah. I always look at it from this standpoint of, like, everybody has a boss that they're answering to.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, most people don't have the
Mm-hmm.
support that they need. They don't
Mm-hmm.
either have enough people, they don't have enough resources.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times what we see is our bosses or
Mm-hmm.
principals, and this goes
Mm-hmm.
across, I think that most teachers would kind of feel this way, is I have a principal that doesn't have what they need to do
Mm-hmm.
their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're requiring me to do things where it's like, okay, well, I don't have what I need to do my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Like it's the same person in the same situation, just
Yeah.
all the way up the ladder.
Yeah.
And then our principal, their boss is thinking, I don't have what I need
Yep.
to do my job.
Yeah, it's just the circle of life.
So kind of everybody feels the same way
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they're in the same boat, just in a different position.
Yeah.
So I don't ever really, I feel like most times I don't really hold it against a principal or a
No,
boss.
yeah.
And I'm sure you feel the same way. It's just like everybody's got a job to do. Everybody's got their checklist that they have to get done.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have what you need. A lot of times you don't. But we're all just making chicken salad with less than great chickens.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah. I think that's not to say that we don't have support here, because we do. We have a lot of really good support here. But I think just in general for teachers, like if you go on TikTok, and of course, if you're looking for negative stuff on TikTok about teaching, you're going to find it.
Get off of TikTok,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. But you'll see teachers who just kind of rant about not having the support. And I think that just kind of hurts the whole idea of teaching and the world of teaching. And I'd love to see more support for teachers.
I'd love to see, you know what, I'm not going to say that.
Well,
I'd love to see more teachers pull their own weight.
Yep. Hey, that's true too.
'Cause
We can always improve.
We can always improve.
Yes.
So just think about how some people, they just want to do stuff how they've always done it. They don't want to adapt.
Yeah.
They don't want to get better. And, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know who all those people are, because I don't. I feel like we got a lot of great people in the building that we work in.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But in every job, there's always people who are just collecting the check. So let's look at what we do have and work from there.
Yeah.
So what we have is a how. How do you keep coming back every day? First semester, how do you do it?
I kind of just think about the impact that I've made on my kids and how important that is to me. And I really, really like my job. I do. It can be really difficult and stressful at times, but I really enjoy this. And I never thought I would be able to say that, because I was always kind of scared. But I love this in its own chaotic way.
Yeah, it's crazy. So as a new teacher, what advice would you give to a new teacher after one semester?
Don't take yourself too seriously. You told me this. And I think at first I was trying really hard to hold this rigorous, this is what we're doing. And they're people. They're really young people who are just figuring life out. Have grace, 100%. Have some grace. And give yourself some grace too.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself unrealistic expectations as a teacher. Do your best and leave the rest. And maybe one day you're giving 100%, and maybe the next day you're giving 75%, and so on and so forth. That's okay. Just show up and just do your best. So don't have that mentality that I gotta be the best. I gotta be
the TikTok teacher.
I have to fit into this box. If you do that, you are going to suffocate the light that you bring in. You're gonna suffocate that joy that you have. And yeah, you kind of just set yourself up to fail when you do that.
That's a perfect way to end it.
Yep.
Thank you, Miss Zane, for coming on.
Absolutely.
You're doing great work as a teacher.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Done. I hope you all enjoyed that conversation between me and Miss Zane. It was a pleasure having her on, as I knew it would be. Before we leave, remember, Relationships take work, especially the ones you have to have with teenagers who don't want to be at school and the ones we have with employees who are looking for a 4-day weekend. However, the relationships we build are the vehicles to our future. I guess that makes conflict a flat tire, but that means there's always a way to fix it. Don't take those emotions home with you. Leave them in the car after your good cry. Thank you for listening. Keep teaching, keep learning, and I will see you all on the next journey.